After being taken from her home, Kuroa finally arrives at a strange facility labeled Shelter exclusively for Code P. The place resembles a detention center or a special institution, quiet and unsettling. One of the workers escorts her to the entrance, giving her a curt instruction, "Go in there for me." With an empty stare and heavy steps, Kuroa stands in the middle of a dark corridor, frozen. Her expression is filled with uncertainty and fear, as if her fate has just been sealed by a world that never gave her a chance. Locked inside the shelter's cell, little Kuroa is treated as something strange. The guard is shocked to discover that Kuroa is actually male despite looking and acting like a little girl. Kuroa tries to explain that it wasn't an owner but his mommy who raised him that way. The guard notices the speed brand on Kuroa's upper arm, a mark denoting livestock status, and scoffs that Kuroa hasn't been taught anything like a proper animal should. Locked behind bars, Kuroa is confronted by a staff member reviewing his file. A shocking detail is revealed: although presenting as a girl, Kuroa is biologically male. The staff mocks this, calling it the result of a deranged owner, which deeply hurts Kuroa, who insists it was his mommy who raised him. A burn mark shaped like a P on Kuroa's arm confirms his classification as livestock. Tearfully, Kuroa says he doesn't want any owner. The man explains that Kuroa's biological parents were high-quality breeder livestock, which explains his refined appearance. But a cruel truth follows: when the shelter becomes overcrowded, those who've been there the longest will be culled first. Kuroa, now locked in a cell, begins to grasp the fate that awaits. A staff member informs her that the shelter will soon reach capacity, and those who've stayed the longest will be culled first. Tearfully overwhelmed, Kuroa clings to hope, trying to stay cheerful in case she finds a new owner. Memories of her mother flood her mind, intensifying her fear and sadness. Behind the bars, Kuroa is startled when a teenage girl comments sarcastically on her flashy dress. The girl introduces herself as Lily, claiming to be a bit older and calling herself Kuroa's senpai. As memories of her mother briefly surface, Kuroa is quietly hurt by the remark. Suddenly, a girl from the adjacent cell cuts in angrily. Her name is Sora, and telling her to stop acting so self-important. Sora introduces himself as a cheerful neighbor in the adjacent cell. He explains that his hair was dyed by his previous owner, but the roots are turning black since it's been 2 months since he was abandoned. With a relaxed demeanor, he welcomes Kuroa and refers to Lily, the girl slightly older than them, who shares the same shelter. Kuroa looks in awe as she imagines Sora's aqua-colored hair, associating it with her favorite childhood hero from a magical girl show. The light-hearted moment shifts abruptly when a worker arrives pushing a food cart, signaling mealtime. On the cart, piles of food are roughly prepared, reflecting the harsh and impersonal treatment of the facility's residents. Kuroa is handed a bowl of foul-smelling food. Though disgusted, she's told to eat it to maintain her hair and skin quality. Lily casually eats while pinching her nose, and Sora admits he still can't stomach it. Yet, in this grim place, survival leaves no options: they must eat or slowly deteriorate. Inside the cell, Kuroa and the other inmates are overwhelmed with sadness and longing. The food served looks disgusting, yet they are forced to eat it to survive. Still, nothing can replace the memory of their mother's cooking. One by one, they cry out for their mommy, including Kuroa, who eventually lies down alone in the quiet of the night, enveloped in loneliness and sorrow. Alone in her confinement bed that night, Kuroa reminisces about a warm memory with her parents. She recalls how, as a young child, she once asked the meaning of her name, and her mother and father lovingly explained that croix comes from the French word meaning trust or believe. They had given her that name in hope she would grow up learning to trust others. That cherished moment rekindles a spark of hope in her. She murmurs with conviction that her mother will surely come to pick her up, still clinging to belief despite the cold, unfamiliar reality around her. In the middle of the night, the sudden sound of an opening door startles the shelter residents. Lily and Sora awaken in alarm as someone approaches. 2 staff members walk toward the cells, building suspense. A blinding beam of light pierces the darkness, signaling the arrival of an unexpected figure. Fear takes hold of their expressions, as tension escalates within the quiet halls. 2 adults step out, waking the residents in anxious anticipation. One of them shines a blinding light into the cells, startling everyone, especially Sora, who bolts upright in bed, visibly alarmed. Kuroa wakes up in her bed, eyes swollen and body weary. Lily, from the adjacent cell, greets her with concern and notices the redness in Kuroa's eyes, a sign of a night filled with tears. Food is served again, and Lily encourages her to eat it while it's still warm. Though hesitant, Kuroa appears to comply. Kuroa wakes up exhausted, her eyes still red from crying all night. Lily greets her gently and urges her to eat before the food gets cold. As Kuroa starts to eat, she notices a hair strand in the food. It's aqua-colored with black at the tips, just like Sora's hair. She calls out to Sora cheerfully, but there's no reply. Lily's expression suddenly freezes, hinting at a deep, uneasy concern. Lily explains that although Sora was still young, he had been at the facility the longest, so he had to be moved. She assures that Sora should now be in a much better place. A foul smell lingers, but Lily brushes it off and asks if Kuroa is crying. She informs her that a new foster parent is expected to visit soon, presenting Kuroa's best chance to leave the facility. Lily urges her to stay friendly. An eccentric-looking woman becomes mesmerized upon seeing Kuroa, exclaiming that she looks just like a doll due to her elegant and beautiful appearance. When asked her name, Kuroa stays silent, clearly nervous. The attendant steps in, introducing Kuroa and urging her to smile, explaining that she's new and still shy. The woman is even more delighted by the silence, saying it suits a girl. However, her expression changes to confusion when she's informed that Kuroa is actually a boy. As the eccentric woman realizes Kuroa is male, her expression shifts from admiration to shock and suspicion. She begins to question whether Kuroa was subjected to something inappropriate by his previous owner for wearing a dress, creating a tense atmosphere. The staff tries to explain that it was simply the former owner's preference. Meanwhile, Kuroa stares blankly, visibly upset, and begins to question himself, quietly wondering if everyone finds him disgusting. Kuroa stood silently behind the bars as Lily approached, warning that in this place, it was best to grin foolishly no matter what others said. She stressed that thinking too much would only wound the heart, so Kuroa should forget language entirely and become like an animal in both body and spirit. With teary eyes, Kuroa tried to hold back emotions, realizing the harsh reality of the place that now served as his home. Kuroa is urged by Lily to keep smiling as the next potential owner arrives. Although told that he looks cuter when smiling, Kuroa stares under pressure. A man asks about his age and is told he is 5 years old. Even after being informed that Kuroa is male, the man shows no concern, thinking he would make a good playmate for his child. The staff confirms, and the man replies that Kroy's gender doesn't matter, as long as he's the caring type. The staff then calls Kroy, who responds with a bright, eager smile. The man notes that Kroy seems friendly and, with a satisfied smile, decides that he'll take this boy with him. Kroy appears both surprised and happy to hear the decision. Kroy looks puzzled as an officer announces that he will be taken away, while Lily, appearing relieved, says that now she can leave with peace of mind. The officer directs his colleagues to process the paperwork, while Lily explains that she's now the most veteran resident in the place. She smiles brightly and adds that soon she will also be meeting Sora. Kroy stands in stunned silence, while Lily's cheerful voice affirms that she's lucky. Kroy is now at his new home, walking alongside the man who adopted him toward a garden filled with flowers. At the front door, a woman and a kid welcome them. The kid looks particularly excited. Suddenly, the kid pulls Kroy toward the yard, catching him off guard. The man who brought him smiles in satisfaction, while the woman at the door greets them warmly, inviting them inside. In his new home, Kroy sits with his new family at a dining table filled with luxurious dishes. He looks both surprised and amazed at the feast before him. As time passes into the night, Kroy is seen playing in the bathtub with young child, their laughter echoing in the room, showing that a warm and friendly atmosphere is beginning to take shape. Kuroa lies in bed, feeling a rare warmth and comfort. The delicious food, the soothing bath, and the kindness of the people in this house make him feel as if he has found a mother figure again. Yet, in the midst of that comfort, his gaze suddenly freezes, an unsettling realization creeps into his mind. disturbing the peace he had just begun to feel. In the middle of the night, Croy sits restlessly on the bed, breathing quickly with eyes fixed sharply on the bedside table. On it rests a pencil holder filled with stationery, including a box cutter. With hesitant yet determined hands, he reaches for the cutter, his mind consumed by fear and despair. Inside, he screams that he doesn't want Mommy to hate him anymore. His grip tightens on the blanket, body trembling. He feels he must be loved, must gain Mommy's affection no matter what it takes. Croy stands in his room at night, clutching a cutter with a tense, sweat-covered face. His gaze is blank yet filled with anxiety, consumed by the belief that the only way not to be hated is to truly become a girl. His fingers grip the fabric of his clothes tightly, and he begins to guide the sharp blade toward his garment, as if determined to transform himself to meet the demands he feels.